Greetings, Ingress agents, and welcome. This is Agent Vidicom for Not Niantic Labs, and this is the recap of Phase 1 of the Kureze Effect. The Kureze Effect is Ingress's latest anomaly. Phase 1 had two components: a global component where agents anywhere in the world could set off battle beacons over a 48-hour period and help their faction score points, and a local component in 45 selected cities where Niantic deployed beacons over an intensive 3-hour battle. The global component was a neat way for agents anywhere in the world to get together in their hometowns and score points for the anomaly. Some agents gathered in small groups of their own faction or in cross-faction groups and set off battle beacons and helped each other earn the badge. The outcomes of these battles counted toward the global score. But as we can see in the scoreboard, the real action was in the 45 selected cities. The Resistance were leading the global score by about 10,000 points as the local battles began. In the APAC region, the Resistance started out strong in New Zealand and continuing into Australia, but the Enlightened dominated the Asian sites overall, adding a net 142,000 points to their score. As the action moved into Europe, the Resistance gained back some of those points, winning 10 of the 15 European sites and taking a net 86,000 points in the region. And then finally, as battles jumped across the Atlantic and into the Americas, at first the Enlightened ceded some points back to the Resistance in the eastern cities, but began to pick up more points as the battles moved across the continent, ending with a net gain of nearly 49,000 points in the Americas. As the final totals in the global component rolled in, the Enlightened emerged the clear winners of Phase 1. But Phases 2 and 3 are yet to... But I'm not here to talk about scores, I'm here to talk about experience. Over the course of 3 hours, Niantic Section 14 deployed many battle beacons at each site, ranging from about 70 battle beacons in the Maldives to 1,700 battle beacons in Tokyo. In Philadelphia, where I went, there were 610 battle beacons deployed, and I personally interacted with 75 of those. So, how was it? In a word, amazing. As I predicted in my last video, it didn't quite match the anomaly experience of old. There were no big parties, there were no hordes of agents dressed in green and blue engaged in massive battles for portal control. But in other ways, it felt much more like an anomaly than I ever would have predicted. A partner and I ran across the city trying to claim as many portals as we could. It was exhilarating. It brought back great memories of anomalies past. So what did I like so much about it? Probably the main thing was the autonomy, partially because there was so little time to prepare and partially because it was a really simple rule set. Each agent basically got to play their own game. A few quick tips got shared in our chats about how to maximize points for our faction, including some tips about when and how to engage in portal battles. But for the most part, it was just about claiming as many portals as you could in the time frame. It also was kind of neat to see the ornaments flash on Intel the day before, and that became a bit of a puzzle, trying to figure out what the relationship between the ornaments on Intel and what ultimately the battles were going to be. So that was a neat kind of spy game. Also, the pacing. So the way that it worked is for the first 50 minutes of each hour, there was basically continuous battles. So you would have a 10-minute countdown followed by, your 9 minutes of battle. And by the time that battle was up, another countdown had started. And so you were constantly moving between portals and trying to claim everything during the 50 minutes. And then you got a 10-minute break. So nothing was going on. There were no countdowns. There was nothing active. It was just, regroup, get back to where you need to go, maybe farm if you had to, and then be ready for the next set of battles. So you had another 50 minutes of intensive battles where something was happening continuously, and then a 10-minute break. And then the third hour started. I'm not going to lie, by the time the third hour started, I was pretty tired and pretty cold, but it was exhilarating. I thought it was well-timed. I thought it was a great event. So what do I think could be improved? I think the playbox was too big. It had too many active beacons going on at the same time. There really wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for battle. I mean, this was good in a way. It meant that my partner and I could patrol our area and claim a whole bunch of different portals. We weren't stuck defending one portal for a long time. On the other hand, we didn't get to battle over portals, so that was a bit of a mixed blessing. If we did actually come across opposition actively defending a portal, we just moved on to a different portal. There was no reason to kind of waste our time on that one portal when there were so many other undefended portals out there. The biggest downside to having so many portals out there was that any kind of inoculation strategy just was impossible. Nobody has enough viruses to handle that many portals, or even if you do have those viruses, you don't want to use them. I'd honestly love to see viruses taken out of this kind of a battle. If anybody from Niantic is listening, please, for the love of the Nazir and the Shapers, just take inoculation out of this event. Just make the portals immune while a Niantic deployed battle beacon is ongoing. Inoculation strategy is the worst part of any anomaly. It is made so much worse when you have a ratio of 20 portals to every agent on the ground. So just if I had one wish, it would be just to not have to deal with that aspect. Another thing that I think could have been improved was better use of local points of contact. So traditionally in an anomaly, Niantic will communicate with a couple of people from each faction to try to designate a play area. They have the local knowledge about what areas are under construction, what are inaccessible, what's unsafe, and so they help really define the play box and make it enjoyable for everybody involved. In this case, obviously, there wasn't enough time to designate and find those POCs, but even though they had play boxes from previous events, because these were all previous anomaly cities, they seem to not take into account all of the portals that had been designated out of bounds during those anomalies, which in many cases were still not ideal or completely inaccessible during this event. So, that I don't think this is going to change before the next phase, but I would hope that Niantic would go back to using local points of contact to help make the play area better. Other than that, it was a great event. I cannot recommend enough. If there's one of these near you and you can get to it safely and you feel comfortable traveling to it, go. It is so much fun. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in February or March. Will Niantic make some tweaks? Maybe. Traditionally, between weekends of an anomaly, Niantic doesn't make any major rule changes, so I'd expect the overall format to stay the same. But, you never know when Calvin Ball might sneak in and we might have a little bit of a change. So stay tuned for any rule tweaks or format adjustments that they may make. And obviously, there's still a pandemic out there, so exercise your best judgment and be safe. But if you can, go do this thing. It's a lot of fun. For Not Niantic Labs, this is Agent Viticon.